Hey everyone, welcome to the Daily here on MLSsoccer.com. It is Friday, April 5th. Josh Wisenant joined here by Andrew Wiebe. And Andrew gets to kick the weekend off a little bit early today. We have our first Friday night match of the season, Sporting Kansas City and DC United out there at Sporting Park, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on MLS Live, and some big injury news for DC United. Yeah, Ben Olsen going into Sporting Park without perhaps his best player. Dwayne De Rosario ruled out for this match with an adductor strain suffered last weekend against the Richmond Kickers. That is obviously a huge blow for DC. They have not been good on the road this year. None of their goals have come there. They have only 2 total on the season, and they'll be going against a Sporting KC side that's really rounding into form defensively. 3 straight shutouts for Peter Vermees's men, and I expect that to continue this weekend. It's going to be very, very tough for DC. Chris Pontius going to have to carry that load. Right now, Olsen looking between maybe a Marco Sanchez or maybe a Marcelo Zaragoza to fill that spot. Neither of those guys bring what Dwayne De Rosario does, but you'll have to tune in tonight to see what actually happens. Yeah, one thing is for sure, Sporting Kansas City might be licking their chops a little bit. 8:30 p.m. Eastern on MLS Live. One other injury note for you. We just learned yesterday that Obafemi Martins has left the Seattle Sounders camp due to a knee injury that's been bothering him, and he's now a serious doubt for their second Champions League match down in Torreon next week. We'll have coverage of that one on MLSsoccer.com. Taking a look at 3 more big matches this weekend, Andrew. Let's start out in Portland. The MLS Stream of the Week presented by El Jimador, Portland Timbers, Houston Dynamo, and some more injury news in this one. Yeah, it's a big issue for the Dynamo. You know, Will Bruin left last weekend's game in the 83rd minute with that hamstring strain. He is officially out this weekend, so Dom Kinnear's got some question marks here. Who is he going to partner up top with Giles Barnes? Will Omar Cummings be healthy enough to play 90? That's probably unlikely at this point, so you're probably looking at Cam Weaver up there next to him. Certainly not quite the partnership that those two had created. Portland on their side have got to be licking their chops with this one. They need a win in front of the Timbers Army. They need to get some momentum going, and this injury could really help them do that. Certainly, and speaking of strikers, let's take a look at Colorado and Real Salt Lake. We get a Rocky Mountain Cup rematch this weekend, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sports Network. Andrew, there's an article on the site right now about Alvaro Saborio. Is he the most underrated player in MLS? What are your thoughts? Simon Borg's argument is that he's underrated. I would argue that he's not at all. This is a guy that's absolutely dominated since the moment he stepped into this league. 17 goals last year, 3 already in 3 games this year. He may not be flashy. He may not be the guy that wows you on the ball, but opposing defenders know about this guy. They know they have to mark him. Drew Moore in for a tough test that night. No Diego Calderon for the Rapids. He will be out. It will probably be 19-year-old Shane O'Neill. That's as tough an assignment as it comes. And when Saborio scores a goal, Real Salt Lake 31-5-6. So they've really got to watch out for that guy on Saturday night. Certainly. And final one on Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern, Chicago hosting New York. Andrew, when are Chicago going to get that first win? Well, I don't think it will be this weekend. We've seen their struggles, that -8 goal differential, just not getting it done. And Chris Rolfe said this week, we haven't got that chemistry yet. We want to combine, we want to move forward quickly, but it's just not there yet. And you look over the other side of the field, the Red Bulls are starting to finally find themselves. If Thierry Henry can play in this game, it looks like he'll be able to do so after scoring that game winner last week. He is going to be a tough test for them. And you still have Tim Cahill. What a tough guy. He continues to play with that injury. I think the Red Bulls get this one, and Chicago's still waiting for that win. Going to be fun to watch. 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, Chicago and New York. There'll be a live chat on MLSsoccer.com. Couple other news and notes before we get out of here today. Be sure to set your MLS fantasy lineup. Obviously, those are going to lock tonight before Sporting Kansas City and DC United. Andrew, one tip that everyone should stick to before the weekend in terms of fantasy? Well, stick with Sporting Kansas City. We've seen Graham Zusi be the absolute best player in the game this year. If you don't have him, you really need to consider picking him up. And we talked about DC's struggle scoring the ball and Kansas City's defensive progress here. Aurelian Colin, Jimmy Nielsen, both guys to look at if you don't have them already. Yeah, make sure you lock it up. And of course, Graham Zusi has now worked his way into the U.S. national team setup. And today is a very special day for U.S. soccer, Andrew. It is really the 100th birthday for U.S. soccer. And of course, the organization celebrated that down at City Hall this morning. I was down there. It was a great scene. Sunil Gulati, Jurgen Klinsmann, Alexi Lalas, Kobe Jones, the whole crew were down there. So that's great. And actually on the site later on today, Simon Borg is going to give you his top 5 U.S. games of all time. Andrew, what's your number 1? Well, my number 1 would be 2002 against Mexico. That 2-0 that got the U.S. to the quarterfinals, of course, could not get it done against Germany. Some would argue
some strange circumstance causing that, but that's my number one, 2002 against Mexico.
2002, Dos a 0. That does it for us here on The Daily. You guys have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday.